UL. Didn't do what? Go and get where you put the out and check your food. If you are doing everything, check your food. I said, if there is a mistake, if there is an error in your code, in your display, which means there is an error, there is a bug in your code. Very good. I said UL. Ask yourself, ask yourself, I'm talking to you. What is your list? Is that what is in your own? It's like that's what I'm saying there. Check. I did something else now. This is what I taught you now. List. These are the lists now. So how the list will appear depends on whether you want it to appear in other lists or on other lists. This must be constant, all LI. But you did what you did here, you wrote UL. Instead of LI, is it because of the way I wrote the L and I? You've seen your error, you've seen your mistakes. Good. Okay, should I clean the board? Should I clean the board? I should clean the board. Okay. I taught you this. I taught you this, right? Look at the board, everybody. Look at the board. Stop whatever you can look at the board. I taught you this, right?
Yes.
What is this?
Submit.
Submit button. Good. Look at this button. The display will give the same thing. This one will not submit your form. This one will do what? Submit your form. It's just ordinary button. This one will submit your form. This one will not submit your form. You can even use this one in that your menu. It's not standard. I'm just trying to. I can do my A here. But it's not going to work because I can't just because of the content. Okay? Let's see. right? The value. Okay?
Yes.
So when you see your button like this, what will you see here? What will you see here? What will you see here? What will you see on top now?
Register.
Register. That is the value. You see register here. Register. Or anything you add as the value, you see it here. But I said, type submit is going to submit your form. Type button is not going to submit your form. It's just an ordinary button. Now, what if this is my register? Maybe if I want the maybe I want to add okay, I want to use an image. Let's assume, for example, an image. When I click, my register will now be an image. When I click that image, it will submit. Or I want to maybe add some styling to my text. We have another attribute, another element known as what? Button. These two are buttons, but they cannot be personalized, except when you use CSS or something like that. But now, I have another element known as what? Button. Type. So what type of button do I want now? Is it just ordinary button or submit button? Submit. I don't need to add value here. The value will be here now. You can add value here. Remember, the value is what is going to be what? Submitted. Value equals to register. This is my opening tag to my button. But I want the color of my register that will appear on top of the button to be red. I can come here and say font, color, red, sign up. So now come here. Look at the board. The one I taught you previous now as our input element is this. These are not input elements. This one is your submit button. This one is, you can also put your value. You know, value. Study the diagram, study the board first. This one is what? Input. Your input is an inline element. And how it will be displayed depends on the type attributes. Good. Now when I say type equals to submit, the browser only not submit button. And the value is the what? Register. depending on the earlier, you can then hit sign, register, sign up, whatever you want to do. Are you sick? Look at that boy. So no. Yes, I'm not going to explain. Now, input, type, submit, value, register. This one, I said this one is going to do what? Submit your because the input type, the attribute, the type attribute determines what? How it will appear and how it will do what? Behave. So if my type is equal to submit, the behavior will change. Now what it's going to do is that once you click on it, it's going to submit the form. But if I use my type as button, if I click on it, it's not going to submit the form. You understand? Good. Now I have this again. This is another way of writing button. I can do my button like this, type, submit, or type, button. If I didn't put button here, just type equals to this. What will it give me? How will the display look like? The type determines how the input element will display or behave. Right? Now, I just specify the type. Maybe it is blank. Or I didn't even put that off. What will it give me as an output? What will the display look like? It's not the normal text. It will just be like this. This is the default input element. Input. Just by writing input like this, this is what it will look like. When I now to type, because the type will determine how the display or how the element will be what? Displayed. And the type also determines how it will be what? The behavior, how it will behave. So if I put type equals to text, it will still give me this, because text is the default value for the type attributes. So over here I say submit. So in other words, this will no longer be an text field. It will not be a submit what? Button. If I put checkbox, it will not be what? A checkbox. Type radio, it will not be a radio box. Good. So type submit will give you a normal submit what? Button. Type button will also give you a normal button. But the difference is that this one will not submit. This one will do what? Submit. Now, I said there's another way of writing this button. Apart from doing it like this, you can still use button opening tag and button closing tag. All of them are button. This one is a button, this one is a button. The difference between this and this one, this one will not submit. But the two out there are what? Buttons. You can press them. If you press, this one will only press, it will not submit. This one will press and it will do what? Submit the form. Good. And if I want to do like, what if I want to customize that right or that your submitter hidden that button? Or that register hidden area? Probably I want the value to be what? Register. But what will display on top of that button? I want it to be what? Sign up. Take out the help at programming. If it's set, do this, else do this. If this element name is equals to button, if this element value is equals to button, you might be having sign up here, but the value is what? Registered. I must say, if the element, if the submit button, if the value of the submit button, which is just what we wrote there is sign up for. But I'm saying if the value of the submit button is equals to register this form, else don't register. But now look at the value. So essentially what I don't want the value to be displayed on top of the button visually. when you created your form, on the bottom, when we get the level, if you don't put value, or I say submit query or submit, okay? That is by default. Because some of them don't hear submit here. Yeah? Now, if you don't want it to be written as submit, you added an attribute as what? Value. And that value is what is not displaying on what? On that button. Okay? Now, I still want the value to be registered. Maybe let me give two reasons. I still want the value to be what? Registered. But I want the user who is viewing the end user who is viewing the website not to see the value as registered, to just see sign up or become a member. But in terms of become a member. Whereas the value it should give me is what? Register. Remember I said the value is what is going to submit. Yeah? But I want the user to be seeing register now. But my value should still remain what? Submit or enter all nature area as your value. That is number one case. Second case, whereby you want to customize the write-up of that particular button. Or maybe you want to use an image as your button. You don't want to use normal regular button. Each of you picture. When I click a picture, the form will give me a submit here. You understand? In these two scenarios, or in any other one, that is where you now use this. This particular one can accept other elements, but this one cannot accept other elements. You understand? I want you to get your form. I want you to try this and see the difference. Use button. If I use type button, or if I didn't put the type at all, it will still give me button, but it's not going to do what? Submit. It can only submit when the type is what? Submit. So if you don't put type submit, it's not going to submit. So you can use this or this to do what? Create your buttons. You can use this, and you can use this or this to create your what? Button. If you are using this, the input, the type should be what? Button. Sorry, submit. For it to submit. The type is button, it's not going to submit. If you are using this, if you don't put type submit, it's not going to do what? Submit, because this is a what? Button. So you now tell this button, the type of button I want you to put is what? Submit button. In other words, we have two types of button. Submit and don't submit. So whichever button you are specifying, you want to use, you must tell the browser this button I'm creating is for what? Submit. It's a submit button. Else, it's not going to do what? Submit. So you can create button in two ways. Either you use your input type equals to button or submit, or you use your button type equals to what? Submit. If I remove this type, it is going to be ordinary button. If I put type equals submit, it's going to be what? Submit. Now here, in this case now, this value will display on the button. But in this case, the value will not display on the button. Rather, whatever thing you type inside the button element is what is going to do what? Display. Try it out. You can even use picture here. You click a picture and form and submit it. But this way, you cannot use your picture to submit your form. Now, so this is an input what? Element. But this one is your button element. So when you see this button as an element, you don't be confused. You can just put your type, you want to submit and make it a submit button. Or when you want to use image to submit your form, maybe for one reason or the other, you just come over and click that picture, the form will submit. This is how you customize it. You open your button opening tag, type this one. You cannot put your image inside the button element, where your form will now cover the form. And your form here. Is it clear? Ask your question. Remember that question should ask.
Yes, what you are saying. You said image is not supposed to say instance, you want in your button type. Here, I give me a box.
You can't connect the user now.
Like computer. No, it's register. My you can go and as the program, you have to submit.
That is why you can't use this one.
Okay, button type.
Yes. You now use buttons as an element. Since you are seeing submit, whatever the teacher may submit, all what the teacher can put the value. You understand? You can do submit here. If that is what you want to be the value. Remember, this one is the value of this one, type, specifying how it will be displayed. This value is the value you are giving to this value. This submit now is the value of this value. Whereas this submit here is the value of this type. They are the same thing. This one determines how the button will function and display. But this one is the one that is making use of it. The browser is making use of the type to display, to decide how the button will be displayed, or how the element will be displayed, or how it will function. Here I'm using button. If I move this button, if I remove this submit, it will become ordinary button because the button was element. So this type now is now converting this from ordinary button to submit button. That's the type to submit. I don't know if I said this, or should I explain more? Explain more. Ask me about this. This I don't use some interpreter to not confuse you. Okay, let me use save. Save. So that after filling your form, you save. I can say save. But I want the user to be seen sign up in the red color. Then in my processor, I will write if the user clicks save, or not if the user clicks submit. Because the value is what? Save. If the user clicks what? Save. In this case, if the user clicks register, that is the value. And if you see what is going to appear on the form. Now this is the difference. This form and this form, the same thing. Here, the button will appear like, on this one, the button will appear like this. Register. On this one, the button will appear like this. Sign up.
Sign up.
How sign up in the this button? These are the different elements of button. This is the closing button. And inside it, I wrote sign up.
So if your browser needs to submit, and you go and have to save.
Now this one, here the up now save to the other. Save. Here you can feel that within save. In this button. But in this one, even though the value is saved, the user cannot see this one. You have to focus give them in here. Here I thought I was signing up. The value of this and the value of this is the same thing. But how they will be displayed to the browser or to the user will differ.
I mean that your web browser will be making use of so you can see. Then your user will be making use of sign up.
Yes. The user will be seeing sign up. But you know that the value, you cannot say if the user clicks sign up, it will not work. It is if the user clicks what? Save. You can say save is the value, it is going to do what? Remember is the value that is being submitted to your server or to any processor. The value, you know that submits. X is equals to A. So what is going to submit to me is what? A. You understand? X is equals to 11. So what is submitted to for me is what? 11. Because 11 is the what? Value of what? A. So in this particular element now, the value of this is what? save. So what it will submit to me as the value is what? Save. And because it is an input format, because of the way it is being written, the user will also see save here. It will be seeing the value will display on the browser, not on the button. But in this case, the value will not display on the button. You cannot decide what you want to display on the what? Button. In this case, the value will be displayed on the what? Button. But in this case, what will display on the button is determined by you, not the value. Here, the value will not display here. You are the one that to specify what you want it to display. But here, the value is not going to display. You can try it out. You can add 2 submit buttons into your form and see. You want to ask me a question? You want to ask me a question, right? Go ahead.
Mark, if I can just say,
Huh?
ihe chọpụtara ndị ọbụ na ihe kpatara o ji wee bụrụ na nke ihu ahụ ịbụ ife iji tag eji eche closing tag nke ihu ahụ ndị input style, those 2 things. Why is it that not only imagine now, not only eji eche
Work closing tag. Why the work closing tag? It's a self-contained tag now. I define it in the beginning now. But this one is not a self-contained tag. Button was open and closing. Button now is a self-contained tag. But input is a self-contained tag. So how the input tag is going to display depends on what? The type. Where I say we have different types. We have text, which is the default. We have dates. We have email. Which other one again? We have password. You said what? Who told you that? Did I mention address as a type? We have radio. We have number. We have checkbox. etc. Then I said inside our form field, inside our form as an element, we have 3 major form field elements, which is 1, input, 2, text area, 3, select. If there's other ones, if I know about those, but these are the 3 major ones. Apart from select and text area, any other thing you are seeing inside your form is written with what? Input. The appearance is because of the type. And in my definition, I said the type determines what? The display and what?
Yeah.
The display and what? The display and the appearance. How is it display on your browser and the behavior? So the display and the behavior. What's the display and appearance? The how it will display and how it will be displayed and how it can also they have what? How it will behave. You understand? So the type determines on how the input element will behave or display. If I put radio here, it's going to give me a radio button. If I put checkbox, it's going to give me a check box. If I put email, it's going to give me an email validating text field. If I put date, it's going to give me a date select text field, and so on. Any question? Do you understand what I just said? Do you understand? Do you understand? Which one? Which second one? Still what I'm supposed to be button. This one with button. Anyone, it's not a mistake. This one with buttons now. This one is not going to submit. You can try it out. It's here, you can submit here from one mail. Don't do that. It will too machine. But if you change it to submit, you submit it, you not submit. Try it and see. Even the same thing with this one. If you didn't put the type, it will become ordinary button. Until you specify the type, it will now become what? Submit. You can try the 3 formats and see. Try it in your form. Try submitting it and see. Do you have any question? The other thing that is echoing back to my phone because I'm live. All right, practice what you've learned so far. Hope it's working. Hope it's working. Let me tell you, next week